Okay, hi. Try to hustle through this because I have a lot to say and I hate that I go so long on my. Um, so for coming out, it took me a while actually, in like personal life stuff. But there was at one point some opportunity came up for volunteers for like a Tyra Banks episode. So back in the day, it seemed like there was a lot more stuff where people did these talk shows like Montel Williams and stuff like that. So I volunteered for it, and this created actually where I had to come and talk to my boss about it because the timing of the show said that if you were selected, it was going to happen definitely during this 1 week, and that was the 1 week where you were not allowed to have time off. So I had to go to her and explain that there was this important thing I had volunteered to participate in, that like a community that I felt represented or whatever, and so she tentatively gave me the okay. She was curious to know what it was about, and I said that if I got selected, I would definitely let her know, and I assured her that I didn't feel that it would bring any sort of embarrassment to her or the department or whatever. They ended up not going through on the show, and ended up never actually explaining to my boss what it was, but I think that there is some curiosity in our department already about that kind of stuff of personal what goes on in Kate's life off the job or whatever, but it's not as shocking as probably as people think or as interesting. Skype sound. Oh, but it was jokes. So believe me, people were like, ooh, gave their little ideas of what they thought I would be doing on the show, and I was like, no, not doing that. Let's see here. Then, at some point of being on the forums for like a year and a half or something, it was Mother's Day, and I came out to my mom for Mother's Day. Yay. And, so I really thought I would come out to my dad first if I was to come out or whatever, but I guess I was a bit hesitant in coming out, not because like I didn't think they would accept me or whatever, but because I still wanted them to accept who they thought I was, because I don't know, I don't want to cause any sort of alienation or whatever here if they see this. I just think that they've been slower maybe to be accepting of possibly what I could turn out, and so I think they thought for a while I was probably a pretty, I got this feeling they thought I was rather loose and probably gay, and because I was rather defensive about that at home or whatever and stuff, so that was kind of a point of contention, and they accused me of stuff, and I was like, that's cool, whatever, like, I'm fine, being part of something that I think people have the right to be or whatever, so I just let them think that about me, but, I don't know, just eventually, like, whatever, so many hours that you're with someone, it's not gonna come out, it came out, so, told her, she was cool, but in a way I think I kind of broke it up because I was like, yeah, because it's like how dad is, whatever, but I think when I saw the expression on her face that she felt that's also how she was like, so I don't know, I resonated more with my dad, I suppose. Growing up is probably an okay way to put it, and it's something that I had actually talked about on the forums, as I kind of wondered how much he and I had in common. Like, I label myself as asexual, and I can't go labeling my dad, that's who, it's your personal call or whatever, but there's something very similar there, like, because I could have all these conversations that I have on the forums with my dad, and I don't think it would be, like, really weird or whatever. I think he'd really relate to it and everything, so, but I don't know, maybe it's an Asperger's thing, maybe it's an asexuality thing, I don't know, it could be both. Let me think here. Tyra Banks, parents, I also told my brother and another good friend, and just whatever people that are close, and I think there's been a little bit like, really, but they're like, it's someone's call, and it seems to work out for me or whatever. So I think people are actually pretty accepting about it. My brother actually also joined the forums, so he's been around a bit. So some of you guys have actually chatted with him in the chat room and you didn't know. And then let me see here. There was one person, like an ex, I was talking to about it, and they were just like, no way. Like, they think that maybe there's just something I need to work on or whatever. So, I mean, I've actually saw both sides of it, but maybe because of my age, I'm just not going to get it as much. Like, you know, it's just like at this point, like, I don't think I'm really going to be much of a late bloomer because it's, you know, it's past that time. So for then also meeting people, there was some visibility that happened there, because that were coming out, you know, ish. So, I went to a meetup, the first one or whatever, and I didn't go to a meetup for like another year. I don't know, I just wasn't quite comfortable with it. And then Cale came out to the area, and he's like, I'm gonna be, you know, in the next state over. He's like, you should really come over. It's actually, you know, like just a 3-hour drive or whatever. So I went up. We did a meetup, and it was pretty cool. Then we also hung out with Tikva, and she was also, you know, this other thing too of like just not how you say, kind of with the stereotype you might think. Like, you know, she's done a lot of different types of socializing. It's not like just this thing where you're like, and stuff. So she was very cool to meet. And just kind of this other part of me, I was like, whoa, you know, she was very, very unique and accepting and interesting. It was very cool, like open-minded and stuff. So then Cale and I went up to Victoria to do another little meet or whatever, and we met Stab. And on the way back, this was like coming out-ish, the visibility part that was kind of like slipped out of my mouth there. There was all these questions that the guy at the Canadian border was giving us. We didn't have a hard time getting in, like leaving America, going into Canada, but then suddenly like the Canadian guy's like, wait a second here, you know, like what were you doing? Blah, blah, blah. So then Cale's like, oh, okay. He's like, so we met a friend. He's like, how do you know the friend? And maybe it's because of like the age difference between Cale and I on our passports. And so then like, so he's like, yeah, I guess a friend we knew off, you know, from online. So just kept going and going, and like, you know, from a forum. What kind of a forum? Like a sexuality forum. What kind of a sexuality forum? It's like, oh my god. And I was just like gonna like die or whatever. Because I wasn't expecting this, you know, like unexpected visibility we had to do or whatever, coming out to this total stranger. And so then, let me see here, Cale's like, okay, asexuality forum. And so then he had to, the guy's like, so the Cale had to give a definition. And so we had explained to the guy, you know, what it is and stuff. And the guy like gave us this look for a second, and then he like just adjusted, and he's like, oh, okay, well, you know, it's cool, like, you know, whatever floats your boat, to each your own, you know, variety is awesome. So then he like sent us on to the fair. I was just like, oh my god, or whatever. But I'm really glad that Cale was there to do it, because I wouldn't have known what to do, you know, whatever. Like, I would have just stammered and got it out, whatever. And Cale was just like, had a good time with it or whatever. And the only other thing then for coming out is like one of the things I'm kind of like have a hard time with is this person that I hang out with a lot, the dating thing or whatever. Like I've gotten to know his family members and stuff, and sometimes they'll ask me questions, and sometimes they'll just be like, so how did you guys originally meet? And I want to say like we met off the AVEN forum or whatever, but then it's like I would have to out him, whereas like, you know, he hasn't even been on AVEN for a year yet, you know, and like I think that's his family, it's his right, you know, to decide how much he wants to be out. So in a way I kind of like have to like not be out. Like I'd like to be more visible in that regard, but I don't know. So that's me in a nutshell here. Alright, I'll let you go. Bye.